What's going on, everyone? What's going on?
Hey, World Wide Web, what's happening?
Basically, how are we all doing? So,
Hello to the whole series of tubes.
right. Yeah. Oh man, it's been a great week of Star Wars. A lot more news we'll dive into. But yeah, welcome to this week's episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds here. Um, Everybody's doing well. It looks like everybody has a smile on their face this week, so that's a positive. But before we dive into this week, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com, people. Your favorite website. You get all your favorite social media at Twitter, Facebook, and also on Instagram. X, I should say. Yeah, it's now called X, but at Nerdcyclopedia. If you are listening to us on podcasts, we are on iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, anywhere you just to listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Also hit that notification button so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure you join our Carbonite Bounty BS the Star Wars group where we talk about all things Star Wars. Leave us some feedback too. We love getting your feedback. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. Love getting your stuff and having you tell us what you think.
Yeah, well said. And I guess there's no better place to start than the Eternal Optimist, right? We have to lead with him. So without further ado, Ken, how was your season 1 finale?
This was probably the best, let's say, season finale that I've seen in a while.
Stop it! No, I'm turning the show off. I'm done.
No. So we got everything we have been asking for all along. You guys have been like, "Oh, they're not doing enough. We're not getting enough answers. They're not giving us enough development. There's no story. Kaz is a moron. Blah 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 blah." Guess what?
Just when I gave him credit.
Guess what? It all came down to these last 4 episodes, and we had a 2-parter, which was pretty legit. And they didn't make a big stink. They didn't make a big scene about it. It wasn't like the end of part 1. Wait till part 2. It just kind of seamlessly, melded together.
Same bad time, same bad channel.
Yep, and we got a nice closure. We got a lot of answers. We got a lot of questions. But I think we now know who the players are. We know who these people are. We know where they fit. The astromech droids are totally playing a big role in this too, which I dig. I mean, that's a big Star Wars thing, like the robots. This last vignette of episodes just really smacked of my second favorite Star Wars story, Empire Strikes Back, because we had Doza, who was basically torn between 2 things. He was torn between his loyalty to his ship. We found out it's a ship, not just a platform. And he wanted to protect them. And how is he going to do that? And the First Order was telling him, well, we'll help you. So it's got a very Lando element, very Bespin vibe to it, because Bespin was city in the clouds, and we had a platform, which was a city in the water, but it could be in the clouds. So I think they were really calling out to the old school Star Wars storytelling here. They gave us an environment that us old guys could like dig and relate to. So I like that. I like the fact that our Lando impersonator Doza really didn't, he was in jail. I mean, this guy really lost everything, but he came back, which was really nice. He came back. He took control of his facility again. It really had a lot of high points for me. So, I mean, I really love the idea that now we understand where Kaz is sort of oriented in this whole thing, because he saw his family wiped out, which was a driving element to Leia also, because she saw her family just, murdered by the new Empire, the New Order, which they can't shoot at point blank range at a droid. I mean, come on. So now we're seeing where these characters are really getting their backstory and why they're in it to win it. And I think that's going to be a strong tale moving forward into season 2. But I dug this. I didn't have really anything bad to say about any of this. The only critique I would say is the stormtroopers with the water uniform on, the swimmers. Why would you need to put that on over your stormtrooper uniform? That didn't make any sense to me. And I'm the kind of guy that's looking at tech. Like, I'm looking at technology and how it's being used or abused. And I feel like that's a, I mean, what I wanted to see was the clone, not clone, but the kidnapped person in a swimsuit, some sort of thing. Not the stormtroopers that were like the aquatic stormtroopers. You didn't see them?
Swimsuit issue.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, bro.
You know what I'm saying. Come on, don't put words in my mouth. What's wrong with you? But anyway, from a super fan point of view, I thought this really hit all the marks, and I enjoyed every single second of this. I would watch these last 8 episodes, the ones we did last week and the ones we did this week, and then Rogue One, and then I'm going to watch Empire Strikes Back, and then I think I'll watch The Force Awakens with new vision, because I see the potential now. I see where this could be going. So I'll hand it off to the next character to see how they're going to bash the whole thing and like tear me up and whatever.
No, it's all good. I mean, I guess I'll go second. So I'll
him.
Go.
Get him.
No, I'm not going to bash Ken at all. I mean, he is a little more optimistic than I am of this. It was good. I like the ending. It's gotten a lot better. The cool thing is the show answered a lot of questions for what the show is doing. But to me, the timeline of this is, I just think that they could have made the timeline a little different. I don't think that they should have ran this coinciding with, The Force Awakens. I was expecting this to be a little bit before that. So the fact that this scene coincided with the show, I don't know. I guess that's me nitpicking, maybe, as Ken would say, but ultimately it had a good ending, gave us a cliffhanger to lead into season 2. So all in all, it was a good ending. Love the costumes. I still love, the gold stormtrooper outfit it's crazy, right? Whether he's a lieutenant admiral, it's yeah. So I really like that. And other than that, I look and say it's good for a hard-headed ass Tam, right? It's just hopefully you get what you wanted. So you made your decision. Now you got to live with it. But yeah, gold armor always really, right? That's another, Ken, as we say, that's another Black Series helmet. So hopefully Hasbro, whoever makes these things, I don't know who makes them, but whoever makes these, please release the gold helmet as well.
Help me. My bank account just is like screaming in pain right now.
Yeah. So whoever makes these, please release that. But yeah, we'll get into our elements in this. But all in all, I thought it was a good season, and looking forward actually to season 2, because now I'm interested to know how this ties into a storyline that literally is going on. So obviously we can't see Kylo Ren because he's on a planet fighting Rey at this time with Finn, who gets cut in the back or something, I believe. So, or is that the first one? Yeah, he gets stabbed in the back, does he? I don't know. I forget the ending, but
we'll have to rewatch.
We'll have to rewatch, yes. But yeah, other than that, I guess I'll toss it to. We'll go to Hitch this time and see. Hitch is make it
all
unique.
Right. So, Hosen Prime or whatever is the planet that blows up here, and I remember watching The Force Awakens, which made so much money. How much money did it make? This is how much money it made.
I was going to say
$2 billion. It's ridiculous.
That's a lot of money.
It's so much money. And I remember watching it, and I remember that thing going off and being like, I wonder what planet they're going to get. And then it was like all these planets but they were shot, and like the shot was real weird. Like the planets were real close to each other, like they were moons or something. And they didn't really explain what planet they were blowing up. I was like, is that Coruscant? It doesn't quite look like Coruscant. And it's this other planet, Hosen Prime or whatever. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but basically it's this other planet they made up so they didn't have to blow up Coruscant. And I think that, that was a big problem for me in The Force Awakens. And now we have a little bit more insight to who these people are because we have Kaz. And I think that's one of the important maybe threads that ties this back together to the sequel trilogy to try and, I don't want to say rescue it, but to give it a little bit more depth. And they explain what's going on. I get it now. Like it's a hyperspace weapon, right? Nobody knows where it is except Han Solo, pretty much. You need a Han Solo to take care of that thing. So it makes it make a lot more sense. What was weird about the way it was portrayed in the movie is that it looked like all these places were right next to each other. And obviously, if we're talking about disparate star systems, they would be very, very far apart, and they wouldn't, like the planets wouldn't look like one could eclipse the other one, which is I think some weird shots that were included in that sequence where they blow up these planets. Now, in my opinion, these were really good episodes. I really liked them a lot. I think the idea of this like installation being an actual ship that they can just steal and take is something straight out of the old Legends comic books. That sort of thing would happen all the time where they'd be like, they'd wander in a control room and someone would, use the Force to just know how to operate the thing. And then they'd be doing basically what Niku and the Sepia twins were doing when they were, controlling all the different portals. I thought that was an interesting way to fight the stormtroopers, was to flush them out like poop. Very interesting there. I liked the cameos from the different players we met earlier. I like the guys trying to ship themselves off world, like UPS themselves. I mean, if I was that little, I would
ship yourself out of there.
I mean, it's worth a shot, right? Anything's worth a shot. I also like that they portrayed the First Order as being extremely aggressive. Like extremely aggressive, just showing up and being like, we're in charge and we're just going to imprison / murder all these people. We're not even going to make any bones about it. That's just what we're going to do. And it's weird because Tam still joins him at the end of the day. And I hope she really enjoys her brain scrape. I'm sure that'll be a great time for her. I don't know. That character is very interesting, and it will be interesting to see what they do with her. Usually the choice is portrayed as going the opposite direction, right? From bad to good, and seeing it go this way. It'll be interesting to see how they portray that going forward. I'm interested to see where they go with the story now, because they're going to be meeting up. Is there a huge, I was going to ask this, and maybe you guys know, is there a huge amount of time in between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi? My guess is no, right? There's not, or no. There is some time.
Maybe a couple years.
A couple years?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about how they smash cut from Rey handing Luke this lightsaber, right? Am I right? This is how that movie ends, and then Episode 8 picks up.
It jumps right into it, yeah. So
okay, so it's like weeks.
Yeah, it's it's not there's no time jump, so as we say, yeah.
Right. So it's not it's not 2 years or whatever, in between Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back or whatever. It's pretty much right away. So we're right at the Last Jedi stuff's going to happen next to these people, right? So they go to this rendezvous, and we know that's going to be implicated in the next movie. So it'll be interesting to see how they pivot from addressing things that pay off from The Force Awakens to pivot to addressing things that pay off from The Last Jedi. That's one thing I'm interested in.
Any of you look?
No.
Yeah, the time frame is literally directly after. So
okay.
There's a time jump between The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker, which is a year. Yeah.
Okay, season 2 of Resistance. Did none of you went to episode 1?
Not yet.
Oh.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't know. Why would I watch ahead? I'm going to watch it next week.
I know you're halfway done with season 2 already, Ken. You know, so
He's watched
Ken,
it.
it's usually T. Mitch that can't help himself. Ken now,
Not on this.
man.
T-Mitch does,
Not
but
on
T-Mitch
that.
does that with the
This
live stuff.
man. I mean, this is
You
like
know, the
this
live
is
stuff.
my blood.
He's always telling us what's going to happen in 2 years.
Yeah, that's funny.
Not this one. I don't have any information for this.
Anyway,
Okay.
so I had a really good time. So I have no bashing to do, really. Even some of the Niku stuff kind of paid off. I didn't hate him. Like I said, I didn't hate him operating the levers. So I guess I like him better than Jar Jar Binks. That's all, and that's all I have to say about that.
Blowfish won.
He is a more likable. Yeah, he is a more likable character. You know, he grows on you and everything, unlike Jar Jar. Yeah, I'm very satisfied with these set of episodes. I knew Tam I said last pod
You did.
to watch her, you know.
Yep.
And sure enough, she's going over to the dark side and everything, you know. So like Steel City said, it's going to be interesting to see how her development goes, because the lady, or I forget her name, she's basically grooming her, you know, guiding her and testing her out, seeing how she is, and sure enough, she makes that choice at the end to go with them, you know. So I mean, like Steel City said, good luck, see when we see it, see how it is on that side and everything, and she may end up coming back. She reminds me of our Bad Batch friend, what's his name?
Bullseye.
No, well, his name's not Bullseye. Is
yeah, what was his name?
Crosshair.
Crosshair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Crosshair, yeah.
Evil
Oh,
Crosshair.
same goddamn thing. Jesus.
She's reminding me of Crosshair, and I'm like, okay, so we pretty much seen this in Bad Batch, with Crosshair and everything. So we're getting a little bit of it with this, with Tam and everything, which is fine. So we'll see how long she lasts over there. I was just it was funny to me with the I was just waiting for the one guy at the end of the next to the last episode, when they were when he was on the screen. He was probably, might as well say it like Neil before Zod, the way he was just screaming and yelling and everything, and reciting and all that stuff. I mean, he was doing his thing, and they was like, ooh, yeah. Fascism at its best, folks. Just coming to take over the galaxy. But that was crazy. So from what you guys are saying, am I to, I guess, intimate that what was happening right at that point was the same thing that happened in Force Awakens at the same time?
Yeah, because that's the first firing of the Starkiller base. So those are the three that they shot.
Plans that we didn't, like Steel City said, that we didn't know about, and Filoni is sort of cleaning it up, say, okay, now we know who was on those planets. Huh. Okay.
But
okay.
Was Coruscant one of the targets?
No,
we all thought it was. But...
So I looked this up because I was curious as to why, and since it was not explained in that movie ever at all in any way, so I was curious, and it looks like what J.J. Abrams wanted to do was blow up Coruscant. And when he said that, Disney said, "Are you out of your freaking mind? Do you know how much stuff is set there? You can't blow it up, because then we can't use it, and we're going to build all these expensive sets and put all this money into Coruscant, so we're not doing that twice. So you're not doing it." So they had to create this other second planet that the New Republic would choose to make it the capital of the galaxy, because Coruscant was seen as decadent, corrupt, and tied to the Emperor. And that makes sense. Rome changed its capital in like 350 or something like that.
And that was Hosnian Prime.
Was Hosnian Prime?
Yeah, Hosnian Prime.
Or Bojalon Prime.
Yeah, was the new, I guess, the new Coruscant, which it is what it is. I guess.
Well, look, the United States did the same thing when they were like, where do we want to put the capital? They looked at many factors, but one of the main ones was, hey, we don't want to put it anywhere where there's already like a culture and a population, like Philadelphia or New York, which were probably the two viable options, and the two they used before they built Washington, D.C. So they purpose built something. So there's something to be said about that, and it does make sense from a like political perspective to do something like that. But it's weird because if they had to move the capital because of how tainted the empire was, I would think we would see a little bit more anti-imperial sentiment generally. But it seems like there's a lot of imperial apologists in position of power. Sorry, DP, to cut into your time there.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, just to wrap it up, as far as this, I love these episodes. These were very succinct, and like T. Mitch was saying, it's getting straight to like the point of like where these characters are. Where we first met them in the beginning, it was like all over the place and stuff. Now we actually see now we got our players in place. You know, we actually care about each one of these characters. You know, we know where we know where their personalities and stuff, lie, and even annoying, characters are, growing on us. Stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next season too. So I mean, I've turned my head as far as like the feelings I had from the beginning to like right now, and I'm basically just surging ahead. Can't wait to watch a little bit more of season 2.
What do you start watching?
So as far as open a general discussion, I mean, where do you guys want to start? I mean, I guess my big point is, I mean, with Filoni kind of using this as, and to be honest, it's weird because I didn't think we needed much cleanup necessarily from The Force Awakens, but he did a good job of kind of fabricating, kind of weaving more of that fabric. So to me, the understanding is this is going in concurrent, right? So that's why Poe has been gone. So now we know where Poe is because this is in concurrent with that scene in which they go to rescue Rey on Starkiller Base at this point or whatever.
So you think it's going to get that close? You think
it has to though, right? Because that's when they fire the weapon. Yeah, it's literally at this point.
So we know he had BB-8 because we just saw that like droid switch, right?
Right.
So we know that he
had BB-8, but his call sign isn't correct. He's not General yet. Wasn't he General Dameron?
He wasn't he didn't get General till Leia gave it to him, and
she took it back for trying to attack the enemy.
I don't know. I think we're still ahead of The Force Awakens.
But if they fired that weapon, it would mess the timing up because they test fired the weapon once, and
from a narrative perspective, the reason you have that overlap, that's exact. I mean, that's the audio from. It has to be the audio from Force Awakens.
It's audio.
When you can pull it up, but it's got to be. Yeah. I mean, when the reason you synchronize something like that narratively is to time sync, and so now we understand when that happens. It's like a blatant that what happened is Poe and BB-8 left for Jakku to see about the map to Luke Skywalker, but that's not really a part of this story.
Right. No, it's not. There's no Jedi in this story yet.
Now that does make me think there's something to be desired here because the information that they get is all about how the Starkiller Base operates. It all pertains to that. And it's all, of course, very vital intelligence, which is why it's such a dick move for Leia to just be like, you're on your own. Pretty much like that. Like, we can't really do anything. Bye.
Well, she gave the coordinates to like the next level of frontline fighters, and well, what did they get? Pirates. So, what does that tell you? Like even the pirates are against the First Order, and they will listen to anything that the Resistance says, and they'll just come a running. And does Sienna have anything to say about this? Like, is she still influencing this whole thing?
Yeah,
that's interesting. The pirate dynamic is interesting, right? I do like that they're there. I like that I like that everybody came back for the finale, man. It's like a curtain call almost.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. That's the end of the movie. Is everyone comes back and they're like, you know what? These people are crazy. We got to do something. We have to, spread ourselves so thin that we're all over this galaxy. We're everywhere. We're in every trench, every hole, and we're hiding, but we're not hiding. We're still talking. Because the rebellion at that point, so that's interesting too. Rebellion and resistance What's the difference?
None.
Resistance, you're
there is
still
none.
trying to get a foothold. Rebellion, you already have amassed a control and you already connected. I think resistance is a nice word for this because they're not really connected yet. They really don't have a game plan.
Isn't the resistance just like the I don't know, like the new name for the rebellion? I mean, all that is they just
No, it's
repackaged the
levels of
name.
power.
In a way, I mean, I
It's
see what you're saying
power.
because it's sort of like the first order is sort of rising, and the resistance is sort of like it has disparate things where you sort of sees the first order coming. So it has its like men in place or soldiers in place for the first order stuff to that's hasn't yet fully developed, but it's still on its way. To infiltrate and to try to gain power and stuff. And the resistance right there is not actually a rebellion because the resistance, there's no empire already in place, for a rebellion to rebel, So a resistance is sort of like, okay, it's these two things, sort of rising up. At some point, they're going to have to meet.
They're going to have to look and see where the chip's going to fall because everybody wants to be on the winning side, whether it's the good or the bad. Everybody wants to be on the side that's going to prevail. So if you're a part of a rebellion, you've already made that decision. You've said, this is the winning side. This is where I want to be.
Well, you're rebelling against the power that's already in place.
Yeah, but I mean, if you say that, then the first order's already been in place. That's like the whole like.
Yeah,
the first order isn't really totally in place.
Childish. They don't
What do
know
you
what
mean?
they're doing.
If we look at the time frame of this show, and now we know the time frame of these three movies, when we get, which is a year time jump from this movie to the third, bro, those destroyers already suffer sitting in the unknown regions. Like this has been in place. So this is more like their this is more like their coup d'etat. Like they've been building this up, and now they're kind of like this is their assault on the new galactic empire, right? So they've been like building up. They're in place now. They're making their assault, and then the resistance is basically like I guess the only military force because when we get into the two, right? I mean, there's two ships.
T. Mitch, that's perfect because are we saying that the First Order is in agreement with Palpatine's thinking as to how this whole thing was supposed to go?
Yes.
Yeah, he's
I would say so.
He's pulling Kylo. He's pulling Hux. I mean, yeah, he's like.
Yeah, but they're kids. They're just kids with toys. They're not doing anything with it.
But they blow up all those planets. They blow up more planets than Palpatine blew up. Palpatine only blew up one planet.
Tarkin did that. He already did that. That's been done.
I think the Resistance is like a paramilitary group. Like they're funded by the government, but they're not really, they're not really part of the government. We're dealing with this in the Red Sea right now, and we're dealing with this in the real world in the Red Sea right now. The Houthi rebels or whatever, Houthi, those guys are proxied by Iran, and so they can have direct. That's kind of what it's like, right? It's a similar relationship where they're able to do these things but it's not like the government's doing it where it's really serious, because direct conflict between nation states sometimes goes awry, and we try to avoid that on account of global nuclear holocaust could pop out of those for no reason whatsoever. So we don't want that to happen. And you could say, if you were a political moderate, hey, this resistance is bad, but that's because the threat they're fighting isn't really real, right? If you thought that about the First Order because they're just in the unknown regions, who knows what they're doing? They're not around here. What's so bad about them? And what was so bad about Palpatine anyway? What was so bad about him? He fixed the economy. He gave my dad a job. Now I trust the Empire. Now I trust the First Order forever. That's a sentiment that. What? No. But you know what I mean? Like there's a sentiment that makes logical sense, in my opinion. So I could see how that would make sense.
Well, remember, they didn't pull the Palpatine connection in until the end of the postquel, because they knew everyone was like outraged that this First Order had no I mean, there was no Palpatine reference.
It would be like if some political entity rose to power now in some nation with using actual literal Nazi iconography, right? Like actual swastika and all that stuff, really using exactly their stuff.
About Hitler.
And then like they get elected to power, and then Hitler somehow returns. It's pretty much, I think, what it would be like.
Well, yes, yeah, because they had to do that because that made everyone satisfied that they were doing the right thing. Like they were following suit with what that empire was built on. And that didn't happen till the end of the second film, Rise of, I mean, honestly, it was like they threw that in, and that was what was so abrupt and clumsy about the whole thing, is they had to tie that postquel into the middle section of our story and connect everything, because face it, what's Star Wars without a Skywalker and a Palpatine? You have nothing. There's no thread. It's all about those two family names that drives this whole story. From my point of view, from an old guy who's grown up on this stuff, that's where the story is. It's the fight between the two families, the Skywalkers and the Palpatines. That's the story. So if you don't have those two names flying around somewhere, you kind of don't have it. You don't have the story.
And everything else, like Resistance, like this show just is all on the peripheral.
It's connecting. It's now showing where there's threads that are, and I'm for it. I'm for an offshoot of a story where there's a new empire, the First Order.
I don't think this is really an offshoot, though. I mean, this lines up.
Leia's in it. I mean, then there is a Skywalker, right? There's your Skywalker.
Because she is a Skywalker, and I was getting to that, but I was waiting.
Sorry, man.
You might as well just pull it out of the bag, because there's Organa, who's a Skywalker. So there's your connection. I want the public to put this together so everyone knows that this is legit. Because there's 2 million people out there, Steel City, that just went, hey, that guy doesn't know oh, wait a minute. Leia Organa, she's a Skywalker, right? They just changed her name because they were trying to protect her, right? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. Now, where does Palpatine fall into this?
Well, he's still getting in his back to tank. He's still getting reborn. I mean, I guess within this year, they're trying to find a perfect clone for his body or whatever. So that would tie in. I was just doing some research. So it wasn't shown on screen at the final battle on Exegol, but in the book, Kaz and Yeager were there. So Kaz and Yeager are confirmed to be at that final scene, our Avengers Endgame moment, when all the ships come through.
Is that Colossus coming out? Is that where the Colossus coming out?
The Colossus wasn't shown on screen. They can't confirm it, but they just confirmed that Kaz and Yeager are in the Star Wars novelization book. They didn't get any screen time, but yeah, they're in the book. So, which is kind of cool because it ties the characters once again together. Because I think the biggest thing out of this is if this was going on in that period, and I know we went other directions, other directors, why weren't these characters brought into, a bigger presence with Poe? Because we had. Because this is, and I guess this will be my discussion point leading into this. If we had characters like this, why did we need Rose?
Yeah, because it was from a cartoon.
But it doesn't matter. It ties the fabric.
I mean, you might as well go all the way back to. I mean, you might as well go all the way back to why wasn't Ahsoka, in any other.
Yep.
They gotta explain that somewhere, man. They gotta explain that.
I explained that, I think, on one of our shows. Ahsoka's one of the voices we hear, because as Ken taught me, and I've been doing it a lot more with the captions on and stuff. And in the novelization, Ahsoka's voice is heard by Rey. However, it's confirmed that she's not dead.
No, I'm talking about Ahsoka. Why wasn't she in any of the the movie stuff? From the prequel stuff. Why wasn't she in any of that?
Like Clone Wars. Why wasn't she in Clone Wars?
She wasn't created yet.
Yeah, I think she was created.
Obviously, so I'm just saying the point of what T. Mitch saying. Okay, what was the purpose of Rose? These characters, I don't know when they were created. Were they created before Force Awakens? Were they created after Force Awakens? If it's time together, some of this is like retroactive,
Right.
Towards that. So you got your Rose, Rose before you even got like Kaz and everything.
There she is. She's in a box.
Right here.
She's in a box.
Unopened. Did you ever open that box?
No, it's a collector.
You know what?
I don't know what to do with Funko
unscrew
Pops.
the-
I don't have a bunch of them.
If you unscrew the top of her head, there's a brain in there.
I guess that's what's offensive to a lot of the fans out there.
What was the redhead's name? Luke's girlfriend.
Mara Jade?
Yes.
Let's not even
Why
do
have we
that.
not
Please
seen-
don't.
Why have we not seen that character somewhere in any of this? Never has that, and that's a real character. She's a
Isn't that
card.
legend
She's a
stuff
trading
though?
card. Huh?
It's listed as now extended universe, no longer Legends, but
Oh, whatever.
that is literally the only payoff that we can have that causes Luke into exile because she somehow gets killed. They have to tell Luke's story, and they have to tell her getting killed, leaving him. That's the only
and
thing that
that
makes him go into exile.
Send him over the edge, right?
Correct. Just like it did to that really destroyed, if we think about it, Obi-Wan when the love of his life, remember in the Clone Wars, was
Yeah.
impaled by Maul.
I mean, that was another tough couple weeks for him, right? Didn't all that stuff in episode 3 all happen like
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
like
Like
1
it.
month?
He had to take a lot. He had to
They
take a lot.
totally missed the boat addressing all that during Obi-Wan series, but I mean, I digress.
It's like
Yeah,
it was like June 1944 for him that month. It was just really, really tough.
But no, the Mara Jade thing is like, I mean, and we're at this timeline, right, where we're between, we're between 6 and 7. So why not, right? I mean, we have all these Mandalorian stuff, Force users. We've introduced now Sabine. I mean,
And the only reason I bring her up is that, like DP said, why wasn't Ahsoka? Why wasn't she involved here? Because she was apparently part of this timeline that we're, this whole arc that we're looking at. She was there.
To quote Desi Arnaz, they got a lot of splaining to do.
they do.
Well,
I mean,
And Mara Jade's the only one that wasn't. It was actually a character. I mean, she was an action figure. She was not only a 3.5-inch action figure, she was a 12-inch action figure with a double pack with Luke. I mean, there were a lot of potential for this character, and
I'm
she's just
sure
not
they'll bring
there.
her in at some point. I've been hearing about this Mara Jade for so long.
You think we're gonna end up with a Star Wars rom-com though?
I don't know.
Like that
I
meet
mean-
cute, which is a part of an assassination attempt, probably, or something
Her-
like that.
her that game, the what the hell was it called? The game, the card game, the Star Wars card game.
Oh, I thought you meant the fighting game they had with her on there.
Oh yeah,
she was
Masters
the
of
Emperor's Fist.
Yeah.
And if you had that card and you laid that card down, you won that battle because that's how powerful that character was. I mean, she had
She had Bucky's arm too, right? She had the whole metal arm, like
Yep. She was
the Winter Soldier arm. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, there were a lot of things about this character that needed to be told, and nobody's touched it. So maybe that's in Filoni's back pocket. He's going to come out with a Mara Jade, like, I corrupted Luke series.
I don't think they'll do that.
that extended universe. But that extended universe, Luke actually had a full happy life with a kid, and obviously a lot of adventures and things happened to him and stuff. But certainly he did better than the movie universe Luke, who embraced asceticism and loneliness and just disappeared from the scene over
Never saw him again.
a mistake that he made. Like like that's
His
he
nephew
definitely turned out worse.
driving over the edge. Come on, man.
So no Mara Jade makes the Luke sad panda.
No. No, I mean, yeah,
Something to be said there. I don't know. There's potential. I think Disney's like missing a,
They're missing
missing
a lot.
story.
they are.
I don't want to
I
say
mean,
it because like it's not turned out as well as people maybe I thought it might. But the Star Wars universe is begging for essentially to be split into a multiverse. It's begging for it. I mean, there's all that additional extra stuff that they have already had to con and retcon and do whatever.
right.
Making its own distinct timeline is so easy to do you can just do it. And I think that's something that, I mean, I don't want to say I need them to do it, but I think if they did, it wouldn't even seem it's being cried out for so loudly on so many fronts that I don't think it's hack anymore. I think they just need to do it, get it over with, and say, look, we're going to just tell a different story. This is the one with the Superman with gray in his temples. That's different than the one where he doesn't have any gray in his temples. And that's different from the, you know what I mean?
Don't hold so much to one, because I mean, basically what they're telling is it's one big story. You know, don't hold so true to that story, because you do hamper I mean, you know, when you get creators that want to come into this universe, you're hampered by everything that came before and everything that's coming, you know, about to come and stuff. You know, you can
all the critics,
you're creating the history as it goes, and you got to be beholden to, like, you know, the history. You know, as Steel City said, if you do the multiverse thing, you do have an advantage versus what the Marvel thing is doing. You already have lore and stuff that's already written where you could just expand those stories out, you know. But at the same time, I just can't see Star Wars as a multiverse thing.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be a multiverse, but you can, like we said, with the World Between Worlds, we can like tell a story of on a time in a doorway where Luke Skywalker did have a different life, right? Or if with the World Between Worlds, if Luke, it's like a what if, right? If Luke made a different decision, he had Mara Jade, a family, and all this. I think that's a possibility, especially if you guys have heard about the season 2 Ahsoka stuff that's went public. What they're doing, which is basically going to go back all the way to more Filoni retcon from the Clone Wars. So we will be seeing the Mortis gods and tying into Baylan Skoll. Whether Baylan Skoll becomes the brother and releases the brother or not, that's a very big premise. They released a photo online of Ahsoka and Sabine on top of the finger pointing towards the temple which Baylan goes to. So that, I mean, causes more questions. So like, how do we have these Mortis gods and then like Luke is being, it just, I don't know. It makes this all a little bit more cloudy when, like I'm saying right now, you guys are right. If we're not branching it, we already are now, because now we're introducing Mortis gods and gods to a linear timeline that doesn't make sense. Because if we're introducing these gods, then what are the wills, right? And if Luke talks to the wills, he's on his planet with the wills, how the hell are you so like depressed? Like, you know what I mean? What they're doing, I think, is going to cloud episode 8 more and make it more of a one-off than it really is, because you know
that one could be written off if you just forgot about that film completely. I mean, that would be
the thing
fun.
is, I don't. I mean, it's a good film by itself, but in totality, yes. It makes it raises more questions.
I think the way to fix the sequel trilogy is to call that one big episode 7. It's all one story that just starts at, you know, there's really no break in the middle. It just goes all the way through. And then you have episode 9 is the middle part where Ben Solo dies and Palpatine somehow returns. And then this next thing they're doing with Rey is the last part. And you could, I think you could.
Breaking news, indefinitely suspended.
Hey, so
that's breaking news as of 2 days ago.
I don't know. You know, maybe I should stop being greedy. It seems like Disney's money, you know, is starting to run out. Mickey Mouse is now in the public domain. You know, perhaps even asking for one Star Wars timeline is too much. Maybe
I don't.
So they're doing the Mandalorian Grogu movie as that's a confirmed thing, and
that is confirmed.
The Rey thing.
So the Rey movie was planned as episode 10. That is shelved as of right now. The Mandalorian movie is a go. However, due to fan backlash, there still may be a Mando season 4 coming out before this movie. So the Mando movie may be the mashup, but they are like debating whether to do a Mando season 4 or scrap it and go straight to the movie, based on everybody going nuts after they do. Because you know what they do? They leak this to all these other in the knows. They put it on the internet, and then Disney tests and LucasArts tests traction to see where it's going to go, what the fans are going to be like, They always do that.
That's the problem.
Bull crap.
That's the problem.
They've been doing it for years. They do it with Marvel. I mean, like,
Lucas would never do that. George would just, if he wanted to shoot it, he would shoot it and release it.
Let it stand as is. Okay.
He even said in interviews he doesn't care what people
These are not
think.
conspiracy theorists, ladies and gentlemen. These are true stories. I 100%. I know that they put stuff. They test out audiences for reaction.
Well, that's corporate. That's corporate.
Obviously, they're doing focus
George
groups.
is a guy that has a story in his head, and he wants to see it. He wants to see, as the father of all of this. He's.
Well, I mean, first of all,
like you, DP, you want to see your comics as big as they can be, right?
To a degree. So I understand the corporate business aspect of it. You're putting so many dollars into it. You want it to make as much money, as it can with the biggest audience as it can. So you put these feelers out to these websites, people in the know or whatever, to test ideas out. So all these ideas out, these rumors and stuff. I mean, a lot of these sites, you didn't have this back in the day. All these sites that are talking about rumors, they're reporting that as fact and everything. So rumor has it, blah, blah, blah. And then you get all these comments and reactions to the rumor. It hasn't been confirmed, totally or whatever, but it's just a rumor. So you get all this backlash to what's in essence a rumor idea, and then they get skittish. Okay, well, we can't do that. Let's try something else. Oh, that's some bull crap. That's messing up like the whole creative aspect. So I do push up against that as a creator.
Right.
And what would you do, DP? What would you do if your story was like, nobody's interested? Would you change it, or would you just push on, and the people that were educated and the people that were interested would rise up and
so
participate in your story?
That's fine in your audience, and there's an audience out there for anything,
anything.
So, but to find that audience is not that easy. Sometimes it's like finding a needle in a haystack. Sometimes you get lucky, you strike something that a lot of people like, but if you have something that's niche, that okay, well, we can only get so much folks. You're only going to have so much money being made from that niche. So you as a Disney corporation, what are you going to do?
And that's where so George sold Star Wars to Disney for $6, maybe $8 billion. That was the money. That was the dollar amount.
It's actually a lot more now, but roughly.
Well, anyway, I mean, that was the contract.
The stock options make it like crazier, yeah.
It was like $6 or $8 billion. He said,
like that, yeah.
And me myself, I'm thinking, man, if I had that opportunity, I would totally buy this franchise. But now Disney's not looking at it as something they created. They're looking at something they're now manipulating and they're changing.
Right.
George would just. Dad would just do it. If he had a story, he would just write it, and put it out there. He wasn't interested in focus groups. He wasn't, never did George Lucas send anything that he created to a focus group.
But Ken, this is like
one of a kind, though. George is a one of a kind. So I mean, think about back in the 77 and everything. There wasn't no company trying to he put out that movie himself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because no other company was trying to distribute it.
And that's
And he ended up to getting lucky to where he can distribute, still finance his movies and still have it distributed by a distributor without them having to take a bunch of change from it. But they're not giving that power to any other director or creator like that. No, I mean the studios weren't doing that.
And it's that brings up a great question that you said, Ken, because keep in mind, George, you're right. George would have did it himself, but now it's not George. So say DP's comic goes to a movie. If he independently finances it, you're 100% right. He can change the story. However, if it's 20th Century Fox or Disney, or he has a distributor that has shareholders behind it, hell yeah, he's gonna have to change that story if they don't like it. If they put feelers out and people are like, I'm not watching that. You think 20th Century Fox? I mean, we see it all the time with Sony projects, some of the Disney stuff. How many shows have been canceled because they put feelers out? We like it, we don't like it. I mean, She-Hulk season 2
and a focus group
canceled.
didn't like it. Yep. Okay.
Correct. You know, so
that
that's one of
fair?
those things.
I mean,
In
it
some
doesn't
cases,
matter
right?
if
I
it's
mean-
fair or not. I mean, it's just the way the business is.
It's just way, yeah,
You know?
right? It is. It
I mean,
is.
it
I heard
is
even
what it is.
Universal does that.
Yeah.
You know.
No. There will be another Minions movie no matter what.
Of course
No
there
matter-
will, and there should be. Those guys are great.
Those guys are
Love
great.
Minions.
Nothing makes me happier than seeing like Tylenol extra strength aspirin with legs that are painted yellow. Those are the best things I can ever see because I'm taking them every day. God damn it.
I must say, I'm a fan of Percy Jackson. So whatever feelers they put out for that,
What you're all in, right? Percy Jackson.
I don't. It's all right for a story. It's
Yeah.
I like. That's where I kind of like. I empathize with Aquaman. I kind of like the kind of like Trident and the sea mythology type story, which they really went with that with Aquaman. But it's I digress into that. We've already done that on another show. You guys should subscribe and watch too.
And you know what? Aquaman.
Shameless plug.
never-
Shameless plug.
Aquaman never got his story told in the Justice League ever.
No,
Did he?
didn't.
No, he didn't. And
No.
now there's an opportunity to see this story, and that's why, I want to see the new one. I don't have the time or the funds or whatever to go see it on the big screen like you guys did, but I'm going to watch it and I'm going to digest it because I liked the first one. I thought the introduction to the backstory of Aquaman was pretty cool because I never saw it. Aquaman was like a sidekick to a sidekick in the Justice
Wow.
League.
Disrespect. The ultimate.
No. I'm totally respecting the guy because
Third
you
wheel.
had
I mean, the
Superman,
joke
you had
with
Batman.
Aquaman was what the joke with Aquaman was always. What does he do when he's outside of the water?
Right, and nobody knew that.
We did. We found that out. You got to watch our show. We've definitely found out, and they showed his capabilities of actually. We found out what happens to Aquaman. We did actually find that out in the second movie. So, or is this the third one? I don't even know.
This is
It's
the
second
Yeah.
film.
But yeah, we did find out.
Don't forget the
his-
one they made for that season of Entourage on HBO.
Ah.
Vince. Remember
Ah,
Vince?
yeah, yeah.
He was
what a
Aquaman.
great, what a perfect casting for that character. Also,
Adrian.
Right.
Fast
his
and
name?
Furious. Anyway,
Yeah.
it was perfect casting for this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy
Yeah.
will work for the rest of his life anyway.
I think just with the Star Wars thing, I mean, pretty much everyone's going to keep complaining about anything that Disney does with it because it's never going to go back to George. It's never going to just be one person guiding this whole thing. It's going to be a committee of folks. They're
Yeah.
never going to land the total reins to Dave Filoni. It's
Right.
just a
No.
total, committee thing. So you're going to get these inconsistencies, I guess.
Yeah, I will say this in closing the show out though, and if you are a fan of Disney or not, that's your decision. George was only going to sell to Disney. George had a relationship with Bob Iger. I forget the previous one before him, Michael Eisner. He's had a relationship with Disney. Knowing Walt, it was only going one way. So.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like all the decisions Disney makes, but they have the money to do it. If we talk about any other studio, nobody else is going to be able to fund and pay off and do what we do. Imagine if this went to Universal or Warner Brothers. They have no money.
Universal.
So,
And it was
you know
the
what I mean?
technology too. George
It was.
wanted this to go to a partner that could spearhead his vision to the future.
But I mean, yeah, we're just
like what he
scratching.
had and throw it forward. And they did. I mean, we're
Yeah.
seeing this thing in a streaming platform that nobody ever thought could happen.
We're
Right.
still scratching the surface. They haven't even tried to do animation with any of the Pixar technology. I mean, if Disney really wanted to open the reins up to this, they really could. So I think that this relationship is as toxic as it's been. To be a Disney optimist, I think it's in the infancy stages. I think right now that they have these properties like The Mandalorian in this time frame, I think this is really, and now they have Filoni in place as a creative director. I think this is really where Star Wars begins to take off. And I think the way Disney is with their properties, it's driving money, so they're going to give more money to it, right?
Yep.
This is the thing, like you said, they got all their chips at the table with Star Wars and Marvel. They're going to fund it. They have the CEO in place that's willing to do it now, past the Chapek regime. So I think we're going to see a lot more stuff coming up for the years, which is great for us. So we're going to see a lot more in this space. But I'm excited to see a lot more projects, a lot more different things. I mean, if anything, this Resistance took a chance, right? And it started out as a younger audience, and as DP told us in the chat, it became a lot more adult themed as we got to the end of season 1. So very excited for season 2. We'll be cracking season 2 off, I believe, next week. And how do you guys want to break that up? Do you want to do 1 to 4 or 1 to 5?
4.
Yeah, 4 feels like a sweet spot.
1 to 4?
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, guys, we'll be coming back next week live with you guys as always, breaking down episodes 1 to 4 of season 2. And really appreciate everybody's feedback. As we always say, please smash a like on the video if you're watching live on YouTube, or give us some comments on Facebook. But yeah, guys, until next week, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.